Tracking rain and snow in the forecast and a possible wet Easter. I'm ABC 10's Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. Now, this weather pattern shift is going to be a big change from what we've been seeing recently, with temperatures running some 10 to almost 15 degrees above average. Great looking first full day of spring. As you can see, Sassoon Valley, that's over towards the coast of San Francisco. Beautiful sunset going on there. A few of those grapevines, Jackson in our mother lode and parts of the foothills also looking equally gorgeous. Emigrant Gap, still lots of snow out there. We saw some high clouds for today and some showers in central and southern part of the Sierra. And then for the southern views, just some hazy skies. Again, just kind of priming for what is ahead with the cloud cover streaming through for this first full day of spring. Departures from normal. As I mentioned, we've been anywhere from about 5, 10, almost 15 degrees above average in some parts of the state. And now we're going to flip things around. We're back to that cooler and showery weather pattern taking shape by the end of the work week and the first weekend of spring, kind of flip-flopping from what we have been seeing here recently. We've got our winter storm watch that goes into place on Friday morning. That stays in effect through Saturday and through parts of Sunday. Difficult travel developing for the Sierra. Today we saw the cloud cover move through. It was a weak weather system, again, just kind of priming the pipeline for multiple systems to come through. Near Yosemite, a few of those snow showers gathering, as well as right along 395 Mammoth Mountain, seeing a few snow showers as well. Bigger weather system, it's still off the coast. That's what's going to be heading our way into our end of work week forecast and the first weekend of spring. Winter storm severity index is going to be in the moderate to major category along the spine of the Sierra. Dangerous travel, expect delays, possible chain controls as well. Likely the roads will stay open. We're not expecting anything too major, but this weather system is still unfolding. We got to get that warm air mass out of place before the colder one moves on through. Friday morning, we're looking dry. Here's the first band of rain. It actually develops pretty quickly throughout the day. So as we've been sitting in this drier and mild weather pattern, we really flip the switch pretty quickly here throughout the day on Friday, with the rain starting up as soon as about the noontime hour, and then it moves throughout the course of the day, with snow initially starting fairly high at about 7,000 feet, and then that comes crashing down as that colder air works in. Because we'll have that cold to warm air transition there, instability will produce the slight chance of some thunderstorms on Friday and actually again on Saturday. Here you can see how the snow level shifts. On Friday, we're at about 7,000 feet. That's pretty close to pass level. But then on Saturday, with that colder air working in, it drops to roughly about 5,000 feet. Now, I will say we'll see some pockets at around 4,500 feet. That's going to be about Nyack. Pollock Pines, I think we're going to be out of the range of seeing the snowfall, even though that snow level comes down to about 4,000 feet on Sunday. There's not a lot of moisture left at that point. That's not to say we couldn't see a few snowflakes, but all in all, it looks like the big stuff is going to be slightly above that. We're actually looking pretty good right now for our Sierra snow water equivalent. Average to date, 114% for the northern Sierra. I also added on this graphic the April 1st average, and we're pretty close to that, given that we're almost to the end of the month. And then for the Central Sierra, 98% of average to date, 95% April 1st. Southern Sierra, 92% average to date, and our April 1st average sits at 89%. Now, there's a reason why I put that April 1st number on there. Statewide average is close to 100% for that April 1st average. Building a water year. This is the reason why it's so important to mark that April 1st date. Our rainy season typically starts in October. That's also the beginning of the water year. November is when things really ramp up, but 50% of our annual precipitation comes in December, January, and February. So as we head into March, that's when things start to wind down, and our peak snowpack typically happens at the end of March. The April 1st percent of average has big implications for how much water we're actually going to have during our driest part of the year. The snow starts to melt in April and May, and that then will fill our reservoirs. But that's also when our water is at its highest demand. We also have the heat that we have to contend with for evaporation. So that April 1st number, again, pretty critical, especially when we're trying to manage our water. For statewide precipitation, just in sheer numbers, we're looking pretty good. Many areas actually still above average. The water year beginning in California on October 1st of 2023, and it will end this year, September 30th. Now, we have a few places that are still below average, one of which is actually Sacramento, over an inch below where we should be this time of year. But places like Modesto, almost 4 inches ahead of normal. Los Angeles, 6 inches ahead of normal. This will take the pressure off a little bit from trying to manage the water, because we have some storage facilities actually in Central and Southern California that are looking pretty healthy at this point. In terms of our above storage reservoir levels, Trinity, 77% of capacity, 87 for Shasta, 85 for Oroville, and Folsom at 66% of capacity. But our percent of average is still above normal. We had a really wet year last year, and we were able to hold a lot of that water. And so we just haven't had to use so much of the surface water this year. Moving a little bit farther to the south here, New Melones and Don Pedro both at about 83% of average. San Luis is 73% and Millerton at 71. The one that I want to point out there is San Luis is both off stream and pumped water. So we have a little bit more flexibility in how we're able to control that over on the Pacheco Pass on the west side of the valley. The other ones are majorly dominated by the snowpack and runoff. And again, that's where we're at this point in the year. The snowpack has kind of met its peak almost. Now we're going to get a nice little pulse of snow coming in for this forecast here. It will fill our reservoirs. And then here's the big bonus on all of this, because last year was so wet. This year is turning out to be a really decent year for us. We've been able to store a lot of groundwater. A lot of the water districts are saying we're really seeing some big improvements with our groundwater storage. And the Airborne Electromagnetic Survey just came out and said now we kind of know what is below that subsurface. They were able to take basically like an MRI of the ground over the past 3 years. And so what they found is we've got a lot of sands and gravels over towards the east side of the valley, and kind of some supercharged highways of these glacial riverbeds that were up in the Sierra. And so those are going to be able to really percolate the water pretty easily. But places that have a little bit more difficulty, silts and clays, we also can certainly store water in those areas. But some areas are going to have that active recharge, actually putting a pole in the ground and getting that water underground, whereas others are going to be able to percolate that water. So it's really kind of interesting to see that information has come out into light to let water districts know how they can store this extra water. And I know that is a big topic of conversation and controversy, that we're wasting this extra water. But the good news is that the groundwater recharge is making big improvements and actually making the invisible visible. Now, you can find out more on that, by the way, on abc10.com. Did a little write-up on that and a little story, so you can find out more information on that right there. Now, in terms of how much water we're going to bring in with this next weather system coming in, it's pulling in from the Pacific Northwest. It is much colder, so say goodbye to that high pressure ridge. That sinking, warming air that has brought us above normal temperatures is going to be moving off to the south, and that's going to give way to this first band of rain moving in along the coast Friday morning. Again, during the day is when we start to see more active and widespread rain throughout the region. Rain and snow right through that 80-50 corridor. If you're trying to make it up to the Sierra, say get in those last couple of runs here before the snow starts to become a little bit more mushy. It looks like Friday afternoon is still okay because that snow line is slightly at or above the pass level. It's going to turn quickly, though. By the time we get into later on Friday evening through early Saturday, that snow line comes down. We're going to find bigger travel delays, chain controls. Again, going to have to watch for those road closures. It's really dependent on, do we have spinouts? Do we have too much travel? Are snowplows just having a tough time getting everything cleared out there? But the rain will be coming and going throughout our Saturday forecast, and it will linger into Sunday as well for some areas. Take a look at these snowfall totals that we're expecting. About 1 inch at the lowest elevations, but as we head up, and some pockets could see up to 3 feet of snow. just from our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday forecast period. For rainfall, it's not quite as plentiful, but it's certainly going to kind of tamp down a little bit of that pollen, certainly, and also bring us some wet roadways out there, slick travel all the way to the coast here. We get about a half an inch to an inch of rain down low, about an inch and a half to almost 2 inches of rain through parts of the foothills. So the rain and snow making a return on Friday. Cooling will take place with about 10 to 15 degree drop in temperatures from what we've been seeing. Impacts will be travel, but again, the good news is that pollen will get knocked down just a little bit. Our wet pattern looks very possible through Easter, so we're kind of stuck in this cooler than average weather pattern, as well as likely wetter, and really a significant signal here right through central California, all the way along the central coast, even into parts of the southern coast as well. Kind of a miracle March or wet end of March, beginning of April. I know we got a lot of folks that are trying to get out for spring break, or perhaps you're just wrapping it up and doing some traveling as well, all the way through the Pacific Northwest through about central California. It looks like that Friday forecast is very wet. Now, not much of that will be moving its way into Southern California until we get to our Saturday forecast through Sunday. Then we'll start to see things lighten up ever so slightly on Sunday. More wet weather in the offing. We'll get a little bit of a break early in the week, but then by Wednesday, we start to see more rain coming through and snow as well. Again, we're stuck in this cooler, wetter pattern, and it looks like Southern California will start the week with some dry weather, but then the Pacific Northwest all the way through Central California, we'll see a wetter start to next week. That'll move its way partially through Southern California, but for the most part, this is going to be a much bigger weather producer through the Pacific Northwest through Central California. And as we wrap up the week, head into Easter weekend, another weather system looks to take shape across the West Coast. That's why I was saying just be prepared. It could be a wet and cold Easter. On to our 5-day regional forecast. This is just going to be through this week for our transition as we move out of that warmer weather pattern into the much colder one. You can even see this for the mountains. 53 for our Thursday forecast with sunny skies. And if you're traveling up there, bring the snow gear. Get ready for travel delays. Highs drop into the 30s for the Tahoe Basin. In the foothills, we're looking at highs in the 60s, almost 70 for some folks by Saturday. Highs are in the 40s with rain. For the coast, temperatures stay pretty consistent. We've actually seen a lot of fog along the coast, too, and some cooler weather. Highs will be in the 60s on Thursday. Then we're going to drop those highs into the 50s by Saturday with areas of rain kind of on and off through the weekend forecast. Slight chance of those thunderstorms in the valley Friday and Saturday. We'll see a few lingering showers on Sunday. And Monday as well, a few sprinkles here and there. It's not going to be a total washout, but Wednesday looks pretty wet. And then again, heading into that Easter weekend forecast, looks like we're going to be back to that wetter than average pattern. If you want to get more in-depth forecasts just like this, be sure to download that ABC 10 app on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. We also have our weather specials like Mega Flood, Water Wasted, our California Drought Series, and as I mentioned, some of those stories that we do just breakout elements on how our weather is impacting some of our water resources and some of our agricultural systems as well. We've got that all on ABC 10 Plus.